Wherever you are, you can join us as the conversation goes on today, as we discuss maternal health. We're going to be having Delasie Dogbey. He's going to be joining us on the line so we can have a conversation with him. But then it's all about maternal health. Before I bring him in, what is maternal health? Now, this is one of the challenging problems. It's something that actually is a problem, in sub-Saharan Africa. Every day, approximately 830 women die from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth. 99% of maternal death occur in developing countries. Now, maternal mortality is higher in women living in rural areas and among poorer community. So on the line with me is Delasie Dogbey, who is the founder of Ladies War Room Organization. This is a non-governmental organization founded by Delasie Dogbey. The organization seeks to bring women together to share their real-life experiences, share knowledge, learn from each other, be empowered and get advice from experts, and provide constant support for their well-being. Now, he is on the show with us right about now. Good afternoon, Mr. Delasie Dogbey, and welcome to the Africa Daily Show.
Hello, Barry. Hope you're well today.
I am very fine. How about you?
I'm doing very well.
Wonderful.
Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure. Actually, talking about maternal health, breast cancer awareness month, this is the last week. So generally, we want to actually focus this last week, in our discussion parts to the women. But our listeners out there would be wondering, okay, we mostly hear or see women championing causes such as this, welfare of women. We see women dominating the scene. But we're speaking to you being a man today. But then tell us what, inspired you. What actually made you become a champion for women issues, specifically maternal health?
Okay. It's a good point you've mentioned, because I get the reaction all the time.
Right.
Especially from women. That this is supposed to be championed by women. How come a man is so passionate about this? And I always thought that unless you go through something, you will never know.
Right.
Let me just tell a summary of my story. I think about 8 years ago, I got married to my wife 9 years, and then 9 years ago. So a year after she got pregnant, and when we did scan, the scan revealed that we were going to have twins. So that was fantastic. And I promised myself that no matter what happens, I'll be with her from the beginning to the end. That was the promise I made to myself, because a lot of times you hear that men don't support women enough and all that, but it was a personal decision that, yes, I wanted to support my wife.
Right.
So during the period of between the first week till she delivered, I experienced the craziest of emotions I'd never imagined. A lot of times I heard about maternal mortality, women dying, but like everybody else, unless you experience it, it's one of the statistics. It's something you just say, okay, it's a sad story. So it actually dawned on me when I started attending antenatal with my wife, and I noticed that most often I was the only man around.
Right.
So you see women carrying their heavy loads in front of them, and they were alone, tired. And then first week, bad news. Then I started wondering, what is this thing about? What is this thing about? Women suffering so much only to bring children to the world. So curiosity, I started researching on maternal mortality. But it was just a normal research until my wife started going through the process. From the first trimester, she was, growing up excessively. Then a young man needed answers.
Right.
You call somebody tells you, oh, it's normal. Somebody else will tell you, no, it's not normal. So you start researching for yourself and finding out the truth. So we went through the whole process, and then my twins were safely delivered. But unfortunately, as soon as they were delivered, things went crazy. My wife started bleeding excessively. And mind you, before the whole C-section procedure, we were told to provide blood and everything which we gave out. We gave blood, so we were prepared. Okay. But right after the delivery of the twins, everything went crazy. And I remember that day was a Friday, the 22nd of June. I remember that day I was called to go and look for blood on a Friday. Where am I going to get blood? Then I also noticed that it is important for us to supply our blood banks all the time.
Right.
It took divine intervention for me to get blood. So by the time I got back to the hospital, she was bleeding excessively. And at that point, that is when crazy things happen. In 10 minutes, if nothing is done, the woman dies.
So what?
And I was told, and after the whole procedure, everything, the doctor came to me and said, we did our best. Imagine a doctor telling you we did our best. When a doctor tells we did our best, it means their best was not enough.
Right.
So it meant that they were asking permission for my wife to be covered. It meant that she had not survived. It meant that she had not survived the whole process. And imagine seeing nurses crying.
Well, that must have been
and I asked that she should be taken to recovery. And they had no option but to take her to recovery because at that time it was the wish of a dying woman's husband. So they had no option to say, okay, let's take her to recovery. They knew for them it was done. She would not survive the process. And then she was taken to recovery. I spoke to her like a crazy man. I had never experienced that emotion before.
Well, I can't imagine
and
how it was.
She made it. But later, I heard from the doctors and the nurses that she was not supposed to. It was a miracle for her to survive. So after that survival, I decided that no woman deserves to go through what we went through.
Yeah.
Or what we went through. So I decided to research, bring together people for us to talk about maternal mortality, for us to find solutions to it, for us to create awareness.
Right.
Because there were a lot of whys, hows.
Yeah.
I did not understand. I did not count my blessings until 2 years after my friend lost the wife. And I noticed that no, it is not just a peculiar problem; it's a general problem.
It's a general problem. Okay. Now, during your research, what did you discover? What did you see as the challenge to this maternal health problems that we're facing?
Okay, so I noticed that there were different aspects of the problem. Number one, our lifestyle. One of the notions is that it affects more people in the rural areas. That's true.
Very true.
But unfortunately, over the decade, a lot of urban women are also suffering a lot when it comes to maternal health, maternal mortality in general, because of our lifestyles and all. Because of management. For example, a woman walks to the hospital, and we don't really check her history. What are you allergic to? What can we, check stats and everything. We put, you go to antenatal, you go to the process, and then when it becomes critical, that's when we start looking for answers.
Yeah.
And most times when there's complication, it takes only 10 minutes to save the woman's life. Yes, 10 minutes.
Just 10 minutes.
10 minutes for any specialist is a deadly time period.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Right.
So it's the management from the beginning to the end. I always tell people that the process of pregnancy starts from the beginning, even before you get pregnant.
Yeah.
But for a lot of us, you get pregnant and then it gets to a point we start taking our medications and all those things. Then it becomes too late.
Right. So to reduce this risk, what are some of the things that, where do women go to? What can they do? What do you think is the solution to all of this?
So the solution is information. It's important for us, it's important for women and their husbands and their families to have information. So as I said, before you get pregnant, or once you find out that you are pregnant, make sure you go for checkup, antenatal. We always take antenatal for granted.
Yeah.
We think it's one of those things. But it's very important because with the whole school, when you go to that school, you are taught how to take good care of yourself. We have also noticed that a lot of people bring issues to the hospitals when it's too late, and then they have to be referred. Again, we need to train more of our doctors to understand that apart from the physical bit, there's a psychological bit as well when handling pregnancy. Because now a lot of other issues are coming, like hypertension, depression, all those things are the modern dimensions of going through the process of pregnancy.
Right. And this part of the world, sometimes there are, limited resources in some aspects with regards to our healthcare systems. Which area do you think can be much more focused on in terms of where more resources, is not much more needed, so that we can actually, concentrate on that area in order to also focus to build up the other parts where we actually have limited resources?
Okay, so I think I want to mention 2 areas.
Okay.
Access to information.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's very important that we give information. People have access to information.
Right.
Because during my time, I struggled to get information. I'll call one nurse at one viewpoint, another nurse, doctor, back and forth. But we need information. Once you have information and you know what you are going through, then it's easier to solve the issue. And then we also need a lot of facilities, that can handle emergency.
Okay.
Most of the deaths are caused by complication.
Okay. Right.
So it means that we need a lot of mobile facilities around, where when there's an emergency, you can easily go there and be helped.
Right. Well, I'm in the studio with my co-host, Epiphania Jokotoglegui. She has a quick question for you so we can move on.
Okay, sure.
Epi.
Hi, Dalasie.
Hi.
First off, yes, I'm feeling better. A little
Wonderful.
bit. Well, thank God. First off, I really want to say, we thank God that your wife is still alive, and that must be.
Thank you very much.
It must have really a very disturbing and tough time for you.
Yes.
And I'm sure a lot of husbands out there who have been through such an experience can relate, and also for those who may not have been, but I believe this particular story, I know it's a very dear one to you, especially as you've had a personal encounter with it. It's something that they can also learn for and pick from. But would you be able to share with us some of the challenges, some of the things you believe that account for these happenings as well?
Okay. From research, and as I said earlier, as I was telling Barry, it's the way our lifestyle. Okay, we're not taking good care of ourselves. If you look back in the day, and our mothers would just deliver at home, and they are fine. They were very active and all. The kind of foods we are eating now, and it's also affecting us. So if that's the case, it is important that whilst you are pregnant, you take good care of yourself. You don't take anything for granted. One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of women take things for granted. In terms of the things they eat, they don't exercise, they don't take their folic acid at all. It's also important that we also train our nurses, because we've had a lot of scary stories from people about nurses.
Yeah.
How they treat their patients.
Yes.
How they intimidate them, how they say terrible things to them. In that area, we need to also train our nurses. But I have to be honest, I've met amazing nurses and I have met very terrible nurses. So it means that we also need to be doing a lot of monitoring. It's very important.
Definitely. Now, so in this case, we're looking at a shared responsibility, not just...
Absolutely.
Yes, not just
one area.
Mm-hmm.
It means that we all have a role to play. The doctors will tell you they can do their best, but if they don't have the resources, it becomes a problem. And it's true. There are some of the hospitals where you go to, they have to refer you. They don't have the resources. And between the point of moving from one referral point to another, anything can happen. And as I said, it's only in minutes, anything can happen when there's a complication.
Okay, so let's just move on real quick. Now, let's also talk about the cultural aspect of the whole conversation. Now, you've interacted with women who've actually lost their children during childbirth, husbands who've actually lost their wives and everything. What are the recovery processes they actually go through? Is it good enough? I mean, talk about women. When you give birth in a certain society and you lose a child, they say, okay, yeah, it was bound to happen, and that is it. Within a period of time, it is over. How has that also contributed to people, realizing how important it is to handle situations like this?
One of the things we realize is that mental support is almost zero.
Right.
We go to a lot of the hospitals. We don't have psychologists. Some have, but most don't. So we downplay the mental health bit of pregnancy.
Right.
So, for example, you lose your child, and then it's your family who's supposed to encourage you.
Yeah.
But there are professionals who are trained to help you through the process.
Okay, all right.
So unfortunately for us as Ghanaians, sometimes we take some of these things for granted. Oh, let it go and pray about it and all that. Prayer is fantastic. Prayer helps, but also God has given people the intelligence and then the resources to be able to
counsel you
to go to such such processes.
Right.
So it is very important that we also focus on a solid counseling unit in most of the hospitals.
Right.
Because I have a friend who lost a wife. And the truth of the matter is that every time I meet him, it's obvious that he's not gotten over it. He doesn't want to go for. And again, we have a problem in this country. When you go for counseling, it means that you have a problem.
Yeah.
And it's like stigma. When you talk to a therapist, it means that once you have spoken to a therapist, then what it means is that you have a mental problem. And there's a stigma related to it.
So people don't actually
even for
go.
People who have not. Yes, even for women who have not lost their children, who have gone through the process of,
counseling,
they go through depression.
Right.
But unfortunately, we don't recognize that depression. So we find out that there are issues in marriage because the person does not understand that you have gone through something that really has drained you physically and emotionally.
Right.
So it's important that we have trained counselors available to help these people. And a solid family support.
Okay, now also you have launched, authored a book, Allow God to Be God, Our Testimony. Tell us about your book.
Yes. So my book is about, it gives a detailed account about what I went through with my wife.
With your wife,
from beginning to end.
Right.
Exactly. And the other women I saw into a lot of difficult times. Okay, I titled it Allow God to God because for what happened to us up to today, it's a miracle.
It was right.
You speak to the dentist and they tell you that
it was a miracle.
She's not supposed to be alive because medically it's for her to survive after bleeding that much. It's crazy.
Okay.
So yes, and we share things you can do to be able to avoid going through what we went through.
Right.
We also share the physical, the mental, and the spiritual bit of it. One of the things I also discovered is that you also need a strong spiritual backing when you get to some point.
Stage in your life.
But it's important that all the areas are covered. The physical, allow the doctor to do what the doctor is supposed to do.
Right.
Allow the pastor to do what they are supposed to do. Allow the counselor to do what they are supposed to do. And you also have to do what they are supposed to do.
Beautiful. Now, you are an advocate for, the welfare of women. What are some of the projects that are in the line for you that you are coming to?
What we normally do, we do outreaches. So the outreach, what we do is we bring specialists together, nurses together, psychologists together, pastors, everybody who is involved in the process. To talk.
Right.
We've noticed that we don't talk a lot in this country. We talk behind the scenes, and we don't talk one-on-one. We don't have honest conversations. So one of the things we do is we have honest conversations. We also do blood donation campaigns regularly. So something we hope to do early next year.
Right.
Because it's very important for us to have blood available. Because it becomes difficult when there's no blood and you have to lose a loved one because there's no blood.
Right.
Exactly. And then we also have empowerment seminars. During the lockdown, we make sure we engage a lot of women with empowerment sessions to make them stronger psychologically and then prepare physically for the future.
Brilliant. So where can we get your book? Allow God to Be God, Our Testimony.
Okay, what we do delivery. So you can just call us on 026 200 6190 and we deliver to you.
Right.
We also have copies at Total, Shell, at KFC Shell, North Legon.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the Trinity United Church.
Right. This fight is a fight that is an ongoing fight. So definitely, we will definitely be reaching out for more, confirmation. Insights and things that are being done for, women to help them improve their health, wise and all of that. Thank you very much for joining us on the Africa Daily Show.
Yes, Barry. Thank you very much
Mr.
for
Dalasie
having me.
Dogbey. Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
please.
All right. Okay, so that was Delasie Dogbey, founder of Ladies of War Room Organization, who also authored the book Allow God to Be God, Our Testimony, and is all on maternal health. And sharing a personal experience such as that is not an easy thing. Going through that. And the thing is, some actually go through this and they end up losing their partners, you know? Very, very disturbing.